everyone, my name is Nina Goradia, and I'm a Somatic Experiencing practitioner and physical therapist. Today I want to discuss physiological reasons that can contribute to anxiety. Many of us might think that anxiety is purely an emotional response, but in fact, the body can oftentimes be having fight or flight responses based on the food and products that we are putting inside of our body. And so I want to discuss this today because I oftentimes have a comprehensive approach when I work with clients in my practice, and I try to address the physical aspect as well so that they can make progress as quickly as possible. So first thing to look at is processed foods. Oftentimes these processed foods have chemicals that are neurotoxins. They are physically abrasive and pro-inflammatory to our nervous system. So we want to acknowledge the physiological foundation of the nervous system. The actual cells, the nerves, the neurons, they're going to need nutrition and they're going to need to be taken care of on a physical level in order for our nervous system to be able to balance properly. So we need to look at chemicals like aspartame in diet drinks and other chemicals that have actually been shown to be neurotoxins, and try to avoid these as much as possible. Another neurotoxin would be, sorry guys, caffeine. And so I know no one likes this one. You know, just consider how it might affect you. Caffeine impacts some of us much more than others. Some people can drink coffee right before bed and they're fine. And others, you know, just a drop and then they're up. And so be aware of how caffeine is impacting you. But I can tell you in general, it often sensitizes us to pain, and it can cause us to have an increase in anxiety. It causes a whole quickening of the body, right? It causes the heart rate to increase. It causes all sorts of anxiety responses as well. Other things that can affect us neurologically. You probably won't like this one either, but many of you are already aware. So gluten. When people have a sensitivity or an intolerance to gluten, and it really affects people along a wide spectrum. So some people are just sensitive, and other people, that would send them to the hospital. But what they're finding is about a third of the people who have this sensitivity to gluten, it affects their digestion. But 2/3 of people are having neurological symptoms. And that can range from all sorts of things, because oftentimes the blood-brain barrier is affected, where the gluten actually can cause this inflammatory response in the brain, and it can be crying when you eat gluten, it can be anxiety, it can be all sorts of neurological symptoms that can occur. And so you could do an experiment if this interests you. 2 weeks, no gluten, see how you do with it, then you reintroduce it, see how you react. But removing gluten from the diet is a wonderful way to decrease inflammation. So when we are eating inflammatory foods, foods that increase inflammation, we are inflaming our brains, inflaming our neurons, inflaming our cells. And so eating as much of an anti-inflammatory diet as possible can make a huge difference in just how we feel and our general state of emotional wellness. Another one to be aware of is some people are having a sensitivity or allergic reaction to dairy. And this is another one where it can increase inflammation, it can cause all sorts of blockages within the body, and that decreases how well our nervous system is able to optimally function. So consider this as well when you're exploring your diet and how you can modify it to decrease anxiety symptoms. So I'm telling you all these things to remove, but what do we eat? And I found that eating lots of fruits and vegetables, as much as possible organic and without pesticides and added chemicals, can be very healing to the body. In addition, making sure that we're getting essential fatty acids can be very important for the myelination of the nerves in our bodies and our brains. And another favorite of mine is the stone-crushed raw living olive oil. I have found that to be so calming and soothing, and I think it's because it helps with the myelination, but it's also just getting this grounding effect of eating the heavier fatty foods. But I found that the raw living olive oil has so much more impact on me personally than if I were to cook it, where it has the risk of becoming hydrogenated. So pouring it on a salad, pouring it after steaming or boiling vegetables. And so I encourage you to explore some of these really simple, basic things that we can do. Oh, and the most basic and obvious one would be to avoid sugar, of course, because sugar is so pro-inflammatory, no nutritional value. We all know this. And substituting it with, fruits and sweeteners like stevia, but that would be a huge way to relieve anxiety, and also preventing crashes, spikes and crashes of the blood sugar along the way that can be distressing as well and anxiety provoking. Another great addition would be to have green leafy vegetables and green juices. The mineral content in these foods and the protein in them can be so stabilizing for the nervous system and for the blood sugar. So these are a few tips to get you started on the road to decreasing physiological contributors to anxiety. And so I hope these help. And if you have any questions for me, you can leave them in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.